Being a successful musician has to be one of the hardest things in the world because you're almost always in a lose-lose situation. So the reason that I'm making this video is because one of my favorite artists, Bruno Mars, released his new single last Friday, and a certain segment of the internet is saying that every song he releases sounds the same, which is really stupid to me. We're gonna talk more about Bruno in a second, but the overall conversation got me wondering, do musicians need or have to change their sound every album, every other album, every few albums? And I feel like that's something that sounds nice to say out loud, but it's easier said than done. Music fans are the fakest and most fickle people in the entire world. How many artists have we seen come and go over the decades? And sometimes maybe the artist just doesn't put out good music anymore, but we've also seen examples where fans just simply move on from you. It's like Woody in Toy Story, I don't want to play with you anymore. And it seems like a lot of fans themselves don't even know exactly what they want, especially when you see some of the conversations online. And I learned a long time ago, you cannot make everyone happy. Changing your sound often can be extremely risky, especially if you're an artist of a certain caliber, because when fans discover you and they like you for doing something, a lot of them want you to keep doing that. You have to be confident in your ability, and you have to be bold enough to understand that you are taking a risk. And for some people, a very small percentage, they're both talented and crazy enough to actually pull it off. I know he's controversial right now, and I wish he would just shut up and stop talking, but whether you like him or not, Kanye West is one of the greatest artists of all time, regardless of genre. Almost every single album this man has ever released sounds completely different. For College Dropout and Late Registration, they sound pretty similar, but Late Registration takes it to a completely different level and place. And then Graduation sounds completely different than these two. And then a few years after Graduation, Kanye surprised everyone and said, yo, I want to drop an auto-tune album with 808s and Heartbreak, which was very controversial around the time that it released, but this project sounds nothing like the previous three he had released. And then he just casually woke up one day and said, yo, I'm going to drop the greatest album of all time with My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, which again, this sounds like a buildup of all his previous projects. Watch the Throne sounds nothing like his previous projects. Yeezus, an album that I hate, complete left field, sounds nothing like he's done in the past. And then he came out with The Life of Pablo, and then he came out with Donda. He dropped some Christian albums. Kanye sonically has been all over the place and has still been able to be successful. The same thing could be said about an artist like Kendrick Lamar. Section 80 has similarities, but it sounds different than Good Kid, Mad City. To Pimp a Butterfly is completely different. Damn, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, his latest project, GNX. For the most part, all of Kendrick's projects sound completely different, but it still works. I feel like those two are extreme examples, but not every artist is a Kanye West or a Kendrick Lamar. Also, when you change your sound often, you take the risk of your fans only liking some projects and not liking the others. Like for me with Kendrick Lamar, I love Section 80. I love Good Kid, Mad City. I think Good Kid, Mad City is one of the greatest albums of all time, regardless of genre. I'm not the biggest fan of To Pimp a Butterfly, and I'm not the biggest fan of GNX. I don't think people understand just how annoying it would be if every single artist tried to change their sound with every project. Like, it's okay to have a safe zone. Like, imagine Kareem Abdul-Jabbar being like, nah, I don't want to hit the skyhook today because it's too predictable. For a lot of the fans that critique this way, I don't think they understand the difference in an artist making the same song repeatedly versus having a sound. It's a difference. The Weeknd might be my favorite artist of all time. I have every single project this man has ever dropped in his career, but I've seen some people critique him and they say that he makes the same song over and over again. And some people, you just have to call them stupid. When The Weeknd first came out, he made 3 mixtapes and they all had a similar sound. All 3 of those mixtapes were dark, graphic, and slower tempo. You know what he was doing during that time? He was building brand recognition and sound recognition. So much so that when you hear certain artists today, you know what people say? They're trying to sound like The Weeknd. At that time, he's not making the same song. He has a consistent sound. It's just like with his music today. After Hours, Dawn FM, and Hurry Up Tomorrow, they're similar. They share some similarities. He packaged these albums together. He said, I'm telling a story. This is a new trilogy. These albums all sound completely different, and people will still be like, nah, he's making the same song over and over again. And people will say the same thing about an artist like Drake, which makes absolutely no sense to me, because Drake is arguably one of, if not the most versatile artist in all of music, regardless of genre. But the reason that it doesn't make sense is because on one hand, a person will say that every Drake song sounds the same, and then on the other hand, they'll say that Drake steals the sounds from other artists and he likes to steal other people's wave. That doesn't make sense. For All the Dogs does not sound like Thank Me Later. Take Care does not sound like Honestly Nevermind. What a Time to Be Alive does not sound like some sexy songs for you. Having a go-to signature sound and sticking to a range of similar topics does not mean every song sounds the same. Every single artist has a list of maybe 5 to 7 things that they talk about lyrically and just remix. Like, imagine turning on a Wiz Khalifa or a Currency song and being like, they talking about weed again? Like, the last thing I want to do is listen to a Currency song produced by DJ Premier and hear this man rapping about ICE and Donald Trump. So Bruno Mars released his new song, I Just Might, last Friday, which is a banger, by the way. And it's incredible how easy he makes all these songs sound. But one of the main things that I keep seeing on social media is people saying that this is the same exact song that he's released over the last 15 years. And no. Outside of his first album, Bruno has always had a clear influence from older music, but he's really cranked it up over the last few years after releasing 24 Karat Magic. But again, having a similar or a go-to sound does not mean that every song is the exact same. This new song that Bruno released does not sound like Uptown Funk. This does not sound like 24 Karat Magic. This does not sound like Versace on the Floor. This does not sound like Finesse. It's clear that with this project, he's sticking with and building off of the sound that he's built with Silk Sonic, which in my opinion, that last Silk Sonic project personally, it's a classic album. I love that album. This song could easily fit into that project, but that does not mean it's the same song. This song doesn't even sound like Die With A Smile featuring Lady Gaga, and to me, this is just one of the laziest critiques you could possibly give an artist. Like, if I'm Bruno Mars is one of the biggest artists in America. If I'm Bruno, am I gonna listen to the opinion of millions of my fans who seem to love my music, or am I gonna listen to the YouTube commenter, I Poop My Pants 67, and what they gotta say? For me personally, I love when modern artists does this sort of old school sound. Like, I love when Bruno Mars does it. I love when Anderson .Paak does it. I love when The Weeknd does his 80s pop type of music. I love when Dua Lipa does it. Like, people try to call Bruno Mars a poser. They try to call Bruno Mars a wedding singer. For me, I don't care about none of that. The music always slaps, and Bruno sounds a lot better than a lot of other artists trying to do this sound. So do artists need to change their sound? In my opinion, no. Do what works. People today complain about everything, and for people who do say that, what kind of music do you want Bruno Mars to make? That Sexy Red song stinks, and it's so bad that people as a collective, we just all pretend it doesn't exist. So if you're a musician, do whatever you want to do. Just do what works. Fans are fake as hell. Fans are here today, gone tomorrow. Fans like to pick and choose which artists they critique. If I'm Bruno Mars, I ain't listening to none of y'all. As a fan of Bruno, I can't wait to listen to this project in a few weeks, and I would love for Bruno to sing at my wedding. Hit me up, bruh. But thank you guys for watching. Like, subscribe if you're new here. We talk about a bunch of different things on this channel. And also follow me on social media. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Instagram. I'm trying to post more on Instagram, so follow me on social so you can tell me just how right or wrong I am. But what do you guys think about this topic? Do you feel like artists need to change their sound often, or are you like me? You just don't really care as long as the music is good? Let me know in the comment section below. Love you guys as always. Remember to tell somebody that you love them. Until next time, see you in the next life.